Yo, back to basics, family. Welcome back to yet another video. I'm your boy Offense Kekana. Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to spend time with me. And yeah, let's get straight into today's video. So yeah, with today's video, we're gonna focus on wealth creation. I think I'm gonna call it that. Yeah, wealth creation. So now that we've covered all the personal finance stuff, so budgeting, how to manage your money, changing how we look at money, all those nice, wonderful topics. We're going to focus now on creating wealth. And just before we start with that, I just feel like I should drop this in. This is possible for anyone. You don't need to pay any financial advisor for this. If you just buy the time, and that's something that I learned recently, is time versus money. It's sort of the same thing. I know you can't use time to go and buy food at the store, but if you buy the time to learn and apply these skills and do it yourself and actually go out and learn and expose yourself to these things, if you buy that time, you'll save money in the long run. And through saving money, because you've acquired the knowledge, you'll be able to use the money you save to generate you more money, therefore creating wealth. So yeah, that's what we're going to talk about today. And yeah, with that being said, wealth for me personally, wealth I still live in my parents' house. This is my room. So yeah, I'm not according to the world, I'm not I'm no Jeff Bezos and anything. But wealth, I've learned, is anything that's sustainable. So with this said, there are two very important things that we need to outline in wealth creation: is assets and liabilities, and how interest, which is what I'm going to focus on today, interest occurs in both these things. So yeah, we're going to get into that. So for the sake of this video and this channel, we're going to define assets as something or things that generate you money. Because I know out there are so many definitions, and you can really go and research your own. But for the sake of simplicity and just understanding, because this channel really, it has to be I want it to be for the people. We're going to define an asset as something that generates you money. And then a liability is anything that you have to pay. So it's an obligation, you have to pay it. So it's like legally binding, you're just obliged to pay it. So that's the difference between an asset and a liability. So one is money in, the other is money out. You're forced, you have to. And the difference between the two is where your net worth lies. So the difference between your assets and your liabilities is your net worth. And in the world, they always define wealth by your net worth. Okay, this person's net worth is what. So yeah, the key to build your net worth. So there are two ways to build your net worth: either increase your assets or decrease your liabilities. But for the sake of sustainability, we want to increase our assets. And by increasing our assets, please don't. I'm very anti-industry, or I wouldn't say anti-world, but yeah, I think differently, because yeah, the world. Jeez, let me not get controversial. Let's stay focused. But increasing your assets is not making more money. Increasing your assets is creating something sustainable. So you can, we'll speak about those things as the channel progresses in all the other videos. So whether you invest in shares and you're really good at that, and your shares generate you more money, or you create a business or something that's going to generate you more cash. So it's all about building. It's not about just making more money or earning more money. It doesn't work that way. It takes a lot of time to create wealth. I don't know, needed to hear that, but I know I needed to, especially as a youth in South Africa. So yeah, that's how we're going to define the two. And one thing that occurs in both these things is interest. So interest is, I'll have a link to a professional definition in the description section. But interest is okay. There are three definitions that I wrote down. Yeah, so the first one I have here, I actually wrote it down. The first one I have is: interest is appreciation or an increase on the capital amount or the initial amount. The second one is money paid for the use of money that is being lent. So you paying on top of, so someone lends you money and you pay that person interest on the money they gave you. And then the last one is money / the rate paid on top of the principal. So yeah, that's interest. So basically interest is any money on top of so if I go to the bank and ask them for 100 rand and they charge me 10% interest, I owe them 110 rand. So that's just for the sake of the basics. So interest in the context of a liability or debt, it's just an easier term to understand. Debt is when you, and I'm going to use banks as an example, or any other financial institution that provides you service, FSP. I don't know if you've heard those terms on adverts. Registered FSP, always here for those things. But yeah, so financial services provider, so banks or whatever, or any other institution, or money sharks, mashonisa. Don't do that ever. Interest in that context would be, so if I go to a bank and lend, like I already explained, they're going to charge me interest on whatever amount that I'm lending. And yeah, so that's how it can work against you, or that's how it works in a sense, in the context of a liability or debt. And how it can work for you is with any asset. So if I go and I have money and I give it to a bank and place it in a fixed deposit or any other savings account, and they assure me that they're going to give me, I don't know, a decent return in today's market, I don't know what's 9% interest, and I give them 1,000 rand, that's 90 rand. Sure, quick maths. My mom's proud of me. But yeah, that's 90 rand interest, that's 90 rand return that you get on top of your 1,000 rand investment. So that's how that is how it can work for you, against you. And those are very basic examples. We'll dive into the more complex and the more broad examples as the channel progresses, but I just want to lay the foundation for how it can work for you and how it can work against you. So yeah, and then there's also compound interest, and this is something that I'm still learning. Compound interest, I'm not gonna lie, I'm still learning compound interest, but basically compound interest is interest on interest. So an example I always use is, actually, you know what, let me get my calculator. Oh yeah, I'm back. My calculator. So yeah, compound interest. This is the example I always use because I can't really define it. It's interest on interest. And just to make it practical, so if you take 1 cent and you double it every day for 30 days, you get, what you're gonna get at the end is 10 million rand, 737,418 cents. Vote for me for parliament. I'll be able to announce the numbers. But yeah, so yeah, that's compound interest. It's pretty crazy if you think about it. If you start with 1 cent, 1 cent is really, I mean, if you see 1 cent on the floor, I know you won't pick it up because I won't. But if you double that every day for 30 days, you're gonna get 10 million rand at the end of 30 days. It's crazy. So that's compound interest. But that's a very unrealistic example, but it's just an example to use to understand. And the reason why it's unrealistic is because with compound interest, there are 3 things that I've found are important. So the first thing is your principal amount. So in this example, it would be the 1 cent, the starting principal. And then the second thing is the time. So for this example, the time is 30 days. Then the third thing, principal time, interest rate. So for this example, the interest rate would be 100% because we double it. So we add a cent on a cent. So in the real world, you're not going to get 100% return. No one's going to give you 100%. It doesn't work that way. They'll give you whatever rates, but it's up to you to just, yeah.
What? Bro, what are you talking about, man?
So those are the 3 most important things in compound interest: principal, time, and rate. So in this example, the principal was 1 cent. The time was 30 days because that's the amount of times the interest occurred. It happened every day. So in the examples that we were taught growing up, it was always annual interest, semi-annual interest, or whatever other type of interest. And then the rate was 100%. So you won't get 100% given to you. It doesn't work that way. But if you are strategic and and you equip yourself well enough to position yourself to be in a place to capitalize on the market and activity, you'll be able to get pretty good returns. I've heard of people who've gotten 80% interest back on whatever investment they put in because they just did the right thing at the right time and they just planned it out. So yeah, that's compound interest, and I think that's the video for today, laying the foundation of how interest works and what it is and how it can apply to you. So it applies to you when you go and invest in whatever, a fixed deposit. I'll go deeper into different types of investment options in the next video, as well as how it works against you with debt and liabilities. And just for interest's sake, there is such thing as good debt. There is, but you have to make sure, so you can get a loan to start a business that you know is going to repay that loan and the interest and still have profits left over. So that's an example of good interest. Very basic, but we'll get into the deeper things as the channel goes. You know the motto, one video at a time. So yeah, that's it for today. Just laying the foundation for wealth creation. So we discussed what assets, liabilities, and how interest occurs in both these things. And the difference between the two is your net worth. And we'll go into different ways on how to create wealth as the channel goes. And yeah, so if you have any questions, please feel free to hit me up on my socials. I'll have them somewhere. And as well as the budgeting videos, I really suggest that you make those budgeting principles yours, because there's no use wanting to create wealth if you can't manage your own money. If you can't budget, it doesn't make sense. So it's very important to grasp the basics of the basics, and then you just progress. And yeah, always do the basics first. So that's back to basics for today. Thank you guys so much for staying with me, tuning in today. Don't forget to comment, subscribe, and please the notifications, because more content is on the way. And please feel free to, again, not just comment, but tell me what it is that I can improve and what it is that you'd like for me to discuss. So it's here. I'm thinking of going on to Instagram TV, Instagram Live. Yeah, just to make it more interactive, you know, get a feel of the audience and all those beautiful things. So thank you so much for tuning in for today.